Okay, for the first time in about a year, we're gonna fire up the turbo Sears lawnmower. This thing's been sitting in the shed. We've got a battery, we've got a fresh turbo feed line, we've got whatever else we did, and it's time to see if it's gonna run. Is it filming? Mm-hmm. All right. So behind this door, door A, we'll call it, are a few things. All right, this is, what would you call, like the junk room? There's a wasp up there. Oh, yeah. Lord. Yeah. Look at them, they're looking at us. Ah! Probably shouldn't have done that. Oh man. Kills on contact, yeah. Perfect. All right, they're gone now. Just, oh, there's a spider. And oh my gosh. Look at all the spiders. I feel like I've neglected it so bad. Well, here it is. Mostly there still. A couple extra cobwebs, but. So today's goal is that we're gonna get this thing out, kind of revive it. I actually robbed, dang it. I robbed the turbo feed line off, so we're missing our oil feed line. The battery is not in it. I used it for something else. The gas is probably not gas anymore. I think the last video I posted was like when I was about to build this, and then I never filmed anymore. So sorry for anybody who watched those videos and never got the satisfaction of seeing it done. Here it is, and it's been sitting for like a year. 97 spiders. Get this thing out in the sun for the first time, and at least, what, I had it at the last Redneck Rumble, which was September of 2023. So we're actually getting it out to take it to this year's Rumble, Redneck Rumble, which is in 1 month. Let's get it in the shop and see if we can't get this thing to run today. Welcome, spiders. Okay. All right, we got it in the shop. So first thing, let's try to pop the hood. All right, now I'm remembering that this was a little bit broken. I need something to prop it up with. Perfect. All right, what condition do we leave this thing before? Looks like all I took was the oil feed line, which connects down here, the O2 sensor, which we're just gonna put a new one. Actually, last time I took the one from the truck with the wideband and put it in here temporarily. We're actually gonna put a fresh wideband in here. I am still gonna grab the gauge, but at least we'll be able to leave an O2 sensor in here. And then we have all the wiring pre-done. So like the O2 sensor, sorry, the wideband gauge and everything, we have those wires still. Here's the one for the sensor itself. So we should be able to throw a sensor in, put the gauge in, run our oil feed line, and then maybe like, I don't know if we'll drain the fuel or not, but we'll see. We've got our O2 bung already here. Again, I built this thing, what, 2 years ago? Like into this shape. Well, I guess the last video was when I was trying to build it, of the turbo mower, but I just want to apologize because I didn't get all that footage. But anyway, this is the exciting part. It's when it's all done and you just get to see it get put back together. All right, that's that. I can't remember. Oh, hey, look at that. See, I thought ahead. I'm probably gonna zip tie this stuff so it's not crazy, just hanging everywhere. So while I'm doing this, I'll tell a little bit about the engine, because I'm sure people are wondering if they've, you know, made it this far in the video. But this is a Briggs Vanguard V-twin. It came off of a Cub Cadet garden tractor. It's been retrofitted with the full EFI system, powered by the Speedduino, that thing. Look it up if you haven't heard of it. But anyway, it's got injectors from a 4.6 Ford V8, coils from like a 02 to 04 Chevy truck. Of course, we're intercooled, eBay turbo. Throttle body is from a, I believe, some kind of ATV from the later 2000s that had EFI. GM air intake temperature sensor. Anyway, so it's like full EFI. That's all that matters. All right, so I'm gonna go steal the gauge out of the truck. Yeah. So here's the race truck. Just gonna snag the wideband. I'm an amateur tuner, so I don't trust myself enough not to run all the time with a wideband in the truck. But for now, we're gonna have to call it good. So we're gonna actually take this wideband. We already have the wiring in the mower harness to hook up the O2 sensor. As you guys just saw, we had that pigtail in, and then we've got the other wire for the power. What I don't remember is where I put the bracket for this, because there's a bracket that holds it onto the, check this out. It just fits in that little spot, kind of nestles in there. Pretty nice actually, but I've got to find the other piece. Okay. So we're also actually looking for the fitting that goes in the turbo to put the turbo feed line on, because apparently I stole it whenever I was working on the other truck. And I thought I dropped it in one of these. If you don't have coffee cans full of just crap you've saved, then, I mean, I don't know if you're doing life right. It also makes it way harder to keep anything organized. Hey, oh, I just saw it. Look at that. That's what we were looking for right there. So we need this, and what else was I looking for? The bracket for the gauge. This is actually the gauge that came out of the mower. Check that out. This one? Look at how many gauge brackets we have just everywhere. This is a Revival. We can make something work, right? All right, first things first. This is our turbo feed. Let's make sure this fits. I'm 91% sure this is the one I took off. Yes. All right, so what we're gonna have to do is find, there's a copper washer, like a gasket, but it's called a copper washer that goes between here and there. We've got to find one of those. But now that we know we have the right fitting, we'll do that in just a minute. So let's see if we can get this gauge mounted. No, this is not going to work. The thing is, the original one, like the one that was on it, it's here somewhere. I just don't have a clue where I would have left it. Wait a minute. No. Dang it. I thought I might have like left it, because I left the wires, the wiring harness in here. I thought maybe. Oh, look right there. Boom, we got it. So this is what we've been looking for right here. It was there the whole time. See, look at me, thinking ahead. And then look, also, it's the nut for it. There should be another one, but the fact that this was laying right there and this was down there makes me think that we're probably not gonna find the other one, but 1 out of 2 ain't bad. All right, so that's definitely gonna fall out. Hey, why don't you like mount the gauge before you hook the wires up, so it'll be 87% more difficult to get the wires hooked up. Okay, that's one. See, again, I built these into the harness, so check that out. We just plug it in, and then now we can line our gauge back up. All right, folks, we have wideband. O2 sensor's tight, gauge is installed, wired up. So now we need our copper washer, our new turbo feed line, and then we'll see if there's anything else that we have to do before we fire this thing back up. Look. See, this is why I keep everything, literally everything. Because even though it's been sitting on this off chance that I need an item that isn't really just common to have, I usually have it, and this one doesn't fit. Okay, well, not as big of a score as I thought. You know, I found this and this, which makes me think that the gasket for this is also in here. Got it. See? People talk crap because I keep everything. But fits good. Let's blow this thing out with some compressed air. What size, I wonder? 17 millimeter. Look. All right, so got this in yesterday. Fresh Dash 4 AN turbo feed line. I think this thing was like 14 bucks. The last one I borrowed from this thing to go on a truck that I no longer own. So that's why we had to buy a new one, because the truck got sold and the turbo line went with it. Comes with the top quality wrench. Oh look, it literally came with this, and it's at least a size too small. Great. I'm gonna get this feed line tightened up. That's good. And then somehow fit into here. I don't know if you guys can see what I'm doing, but basically on the oil filter housing, there's from the factory, there's an oil pressure sensor right here. And that pressure sensor just lights up a light on the dash on the tractor that this engine would have been on. But in our case, we've got an adapter to go to AN, and then we're feeding our turbo off of this. So, okay, so we've got the O2 sensor, we've got the feed line replaced. Let's check the oil, get our battery, smell the fuel tank, and then we'll be ready to go. This thing's always actually leaked a little bit of oil, so I'm unsure if we're gonna have to add any, but let's see. Might be a little over, actually. But our turbo has no oil in it. Our turbo line, of course, is new, so as it starts to circulate, the level will go down. And while it's running, we want it to be full, so I think we're good. Plenty of oil, looks fresh. Again, this thing's been sitting for a year, but everything looks good. Okay. We have our wing nut and bolt for this one. I wonder where the other one went. Nope, other way. I think, no, other way, other way. Well, who designed this? I went ahead and grabbed a bolt and nut for the negative side since we lost the wing nut and bolt, but I believe I had the foam in like that so that it wouldn't be up against the metal. Okay, we got our battery, O2 sensor, turbo feed line. Let's hit the key and see what happens, right? Okay, in neutral. I think this is fuel pump. Yep. So fuel pump is good. It is circulating. We don't have any leaks. I don't see any leaks. The fuel looks horrible though. Okay, now key on, we should see this light up. Okay, the O2 sensor is heating. Our ECU is lit up. Okay, for the first time in about a year, we're gonna fire up the turbo Sears lawnmower. This thing's been sitting in the shed. We've got a battery, we've got a fresh turbo feed line, we've got whatever else we did, and it's time to see if it's gonna run. It's alive. Our O2 sensor is not reading right. Not really sure. I'm not really sure why, so we might have to address that, but it's running. It smells like it's running rich, which is better than running lean, so let's get this thing out of the shop. All right, spider webs and all, here we go. Fuel, ignition. I'm gonna let it warm up for a minute. Maybe we have a bad sensor out of the box. Unlikely, but who knows. I think it's good enough to ride, so. So I don't like not being able to see my air fuel ratio, especially on those long pulls. So I'm gonna pull back up to the shop and see if we can't address the O2 sensor reading funky. Something's not right with it. Again, I don't know if we got a bad sensor out of the box or what, but we're gonna try to see if we can't figure out why this thing's not reading right, and so we can rip this thing safely. So let's get back up to the shop. Not too bad for a shakedown run. Got a little smoke coming from our turbo. It's probably just some oil that drained down on it a little bit. Overall, not too bad, but again, I don't like not being able to see the O2 reading, so really want to try to get that sensor diagnosed and, you know, see if we can't make this thing safe. I'm rambling. That's fine. I'm just gonna go open the door and everything's gonna be fine. All right, let's see. We've got it. We've developed a squeak. I'm not really sure what that is. We didn't even check the air on the tires or anything, so. All right, hood prop. Not sure. It looks fine, but okay. Grab another one. So what I want to do is just turn the key on and see if what the gauge actually does with no sensor hooked up. It tells us that there's no sensor hooked up. Imagine that. So let's try the sensor. We're not going to actually hook it into the exhaust. We're just going to leave the sensor open to the air. And I believe you can do a manual calibration on this gauge. So we're going to try that. So we got our sensor, new sensor in. Let's make sure it's going to read a value on the gauge. Because the last one would, I think it would heat up and then it would just display that weird like decimal value here. Okay, dashes are good because that means we're breathing free air. If we were reading a weird value here, then I don't think we would have said our problem was solved. So I'm confident in saying, at least for now, that we've fixed the issue with the O2 sensor. So we're gonna put this one back in, take it for another rip, and then probably call this thing ready to go as far as prep for the rumble. Bad? So we got fuel, ECU. All right, check out the gauge. So we're heating now. And now we're getting a good reading. So we're idling fairly rich, but it's working, so that's what matters. All right, we've still got good readings on our gauge. The turbo mower is running great. Definitely need to do some tuning. I doubt you could see in that footage there, but the gauge was reading, you know, high 10s and 11s. And I mean, that's probably actually safe for this application because we don't want to blow up our V-twin engine. But I think that calls it for getting this thing ready for this year's Rumble, the Redneck Rumble. You know, if you go to that event, look me up. I'll be riding this thing around, and stop and say hi if you've watched the video. But anyway, thank you for watching. Like and subscribe. Check out the other videos we have on the channel. We have several projects we're working on. There's always something new. There's always something to do. So thanks again, and we'll see you in the next one.